Welcome into the Inside Bassmaster Podcast, episode 201. I'm your host, Ronnie Moore. My co-host is always Kyle Jessie. And Kyle, last time we talked, we were previewing the 10 Killer event. We've taken some time off from the podcast. Zona and Mercer and Bassmaster Hurdle Gals have been pumping out some podcasts. We've launched the Roku Fast Channel with 24-hour network for Bassmaster content. I actually just saw some St. Clair stuff playing in our break room and in Mike McKinnis's office. You can watch it all day long. I went in there and watched Trevor McKinney. He is a real person. He does fish in an open. Even though people thought I was mentioning Trey McKinney in the live well, I was looking at Trevor McKinney. And so we've done a lot of other work, non-podcast related. So it's been a little while, but how are you, man? I mean, we couldn't have ended and gone into our summer break better than the way 10 Killer went with a 1 ounce victory from Logan over Loberg.
Yeah, I mean, for one, like you said, it's definitely been a minute. I wouldn't say putting this off. Like you said, there's been so many other things going on and with the team
ICAST in the
and
middle.
officially, yeah, I mean, we've just been rolling out content left and right, it seems like, but definitely a little bit of a break on the Inside Bassmaster podcast. And yeah, looking back, like you said, at that 10 killer tournament, like we said before that tournament that it was going to be very unpredictable. Like we just were not sure what that was going to end up looking like with water levels and everything else concerned. By the time we ended up shooting the podcast, like a day later, I was like, boy, could we have been any more wrong? Because
Yeah.
I thought for sure the water was going to drop out. There was going to be no shallow fishing, like everything that we had like kind of teased. I'm not going to say we said one way or another, what was going to happen. But like by the time the tournament rolled in closer, I was like, we could not have got that any more off. And then it ended up being the opposite direction of the even what we had suggested was possibility, as far as the high water and the shallow fishing. So certainly an awesome tournament. What a
Hey, if it
unexpected,
threw Jason Christie for a curve, it's okay if it threw
no
us a
doubt,
curve because
no
we
doubt.
we looked at the kayak event that was just there before our elite event. The water was falling out, and we didn't really have rain projected in our forecasts, but rain above the system obviously flows down, and so it changed that fishery. And yeah, for the first time, we were actually doing the podcast like 6 days before the tournament. We were like well prepared and well in advance, doing well. And we were trying to predict something, and we did give a couple little, we hedged our bets with saying right now on this date,
Yeah.
1 week before day one, type of thing. And so it did change quite a lot, and it was a very, very topsy-turvy event weather-wise. I mean, we had like three working microphones by the end of the event that weren't wet. So
That was a
uh,
tough event as far as equipment is concerned. It
yeah.
never stopped raining seemingly the entire event.
No doubt. And so, but very, very cool. I mean, all of the different stuff we saw Wes Logan, Andrew Loberg, we saw Kyle Welcher with the crazy current in his area, and we saw guys fishing offshore at times. We saw guys have to fish offshore the first 2 days and then go up shallow. We saw a lot of different things there. Marinas came into play. And now we're going to a place where I would say it's the most predictable event that we'll have just based off of the way past events have gone. We could say predictable. We were pretty dang spot on with Lake Hartwell and what was going to happen. We actually got the winning area pretty dang spot on for the Pascatank. So there have been other events that we have been very close on, but it was a time of year where other stuff could happen and go down. St. Clair has been, I wouldn't say one dimensional, but if you haven't been on the deal, you are nowhere close to succeeding the last few times. The Open, the previous Elite in 2023, going back to 2020 was the last time we had some variety of locations, and then 2019 for the AOI Championship event in the fall. That was all over the map. So St. Clair the last few years has been super dominant. It's the next lake, I feel, Kyle. Do you agree with this? It's the next lake of the smallmouth tournament trail. If we went around and did a smallmouth, it's one of those lakes. It's the next one that we expect to break 100 pounds. It's like, all smallmouth. It and Champlain are right there, but I feel like St. Clair is at that quality with what we've seen. 3 day events put out, and then the last elite, we were here for 4 days. It took 91 pounds.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly a place that I think you would believe has the potential to reach that 100-pound mark. I think what ends up happening a lot of times is, and we'll get into it. Obviously, you went over it on the live well, Anchor Bay and some of these areas get so heavily pressured that it's hard to find, one group of fish. Like let's say St. Lawrence River, Ontario. I mean, there is such a disparity in like where guys can fish. Everybody's making long runs, but you can still get in an area that's, less pressured than others, I guess, if that makes sense because it's so big and there's so many good areas.
Go find your own pot of fish. Yeah.
100%. So like you might be on just a quarter pound, a half pound better quality size fish and kind of have it to yourself. Well, the way St. Clair has worked, and I don't want to sound like an expert, I'm far from an expert. Luckily, we'll have plenty of people, hopefully, Mercer and I don't know, is Mark Zona going to show up? I mean, Mark Zona might show up to
That's
this
that's
thing.
for later in this podcast, but yes, shh, don't tell anybody. He will be there all 4 days.
Well, that's exciting because nobody's even told me that. So I didn't know that. So that's
You
fantastic.
don't have to do the morning and afternoon hits on Bass Live. You're just doing the midday show with the gang. So, we've let Kyle off the hook on that.
Well, what I was really hoping is they would do is just let him sub in for the halftime show too, and just let him do that. Hopefully,
And
he's
you
going to
get
be
the
a guest.
week off? Is that what we're doing? Or are
No,
you coming in the studio?
I just want to go back on the water. I just like covering the tournaments on the water, and I haven't done that at all
So
this year.
you're saying you want to go back out on the water for the tournament where you can see the top 10 from the takeoff? Is that the
Yes,
one you want to go
this
out
is
on the water
this is
from?
the one to go on the water for because it requires the least amount of effort as far as running, finding anglers. The best I can remember covering the tournament on the water 2 years ago is you just put the trolling motor on spot lock in a certain area and you just let them rotate around you, which was from a coverage standpoint about the best case scenario. But no, all that to say, obviously it seems like it has the potential. It's just going to take, seems like, in my opinion, it's just going to take somebody finding something just a little bit different. I don't know if that's going to be a bait, slightly different area, just a little bit further away from where the masses are. Obviously we saw that with Cifuentes to some extent, just a little bit further down. I think it's certainly got the possibility, but that's one of the things that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on this week for sure.
Yeah, and that honestly, that brings me into why don't we just go ahead and do this before we hit fantasy? The Yeti question of the day for the podcast. My question for you, Kyle, is in the past, I'll preface this before I get to the question. In the past, 2013, 2015, 2017, 2019, those 4 or 5 elite caliber events, you could have people go to Huron, you could go to the St. Clair River, you could be in St. Clair, you could go to the Detroit River, you go to Erie. All 5 regions were in play. And I say 5 as St. Clair as one as a whole, but we obviously know there's Anchor Bay, there's
Sure.
the mile marker roads down there. You've got, Belle Island out there in Canada. You've got Walpole that's been off limits before, but there's a lot of areas in St. Clair, but the 5 main areas, Huron, St. Clair River, St. Clair, Detroit River, Erie. Yeti, question of the day. Can someone make the top 10 or will someone make the top 10 from one of those other areas or all 10 will be in St. Clair? That's the Yeti question of the day. And while you mull that over, I'm going to go ahead and tell the fans at home about the Yeti Ranchero backpack. If you got to go to iCast and check out all the new Yeti products, you probably got to see the Yeti Ranchero backpack. It is perfect for the on the go person. No more digging through your backpack. A cutting edge rip zip opening allows you to quickly tear the bag open from the top, see everything you need in seconds. If you have something down at the bottom of your bag, not a problem at all. You can access it there. You'll be able to, have camera equipment, maybe go hiking, have different things there. A lot of different options that you can put in the Yeti Ranchero backpack. Easy, quick zip, no issues, and it's going to have the durability you expect with Yeti. So check that out at yeti.com or a Yeti retail store near you. And Kyle, you've got the Ready Yanchero. Why don't we call it that? The Ready Yanchero. No, it's the Yeti Ranchero backpack, and you've had it for now 2 months. I think you got it right before fork, maybe.
So we gotta cut this straight too, because there's probably people watching thinking that backpack still has the tags on it. You certainly have not used it. I have two. So there's one that has not been touched, and there's one
Wow.
that's in the truck.
Thanks for
Uh,
sharing one of them. Appreciate it.
so at the end of the season, maybe we'll send one to Ronnie, and he can have one for himself. But for
Hey, I'll
now,
put in my basketball shoes, my coach's polo, all the stuff for basketball season this off season. We'll do that.
It is certainly a very nice backpack. I do enjoy traveling with it. I would say it doesn't make a huge difference when you're driving what you're taking with you, but on these tournaments, northern tournaments where we're flying and you want to be, as efficient as you possibly can with your space, not taking too many bags. I just try to take two bags, obviously just a personal bag for clothes and stuff, and then one that carries everything else, which is camera equipment, laptops, chargers. It gets flagged almost every time I go through TSA because there's so much crap in it. But it is certainly a great bag for that, very durable, and as you said, easy access to get all your stuff. So can't complain too much. But yeah,
So
like I said, by the end of the season, maybe we'll send you the one that's fresh here without the tags ripped off of it.
so now I know when you do the boarding pass part of 24 hours before your flight and you check no lithium batteries, they know you're lying because everything is pinging on your deal. No, they're probably talking about actual like big
Yeah.
lithium batteries. But awesome. Well, Kyle, let's talk a little bit more about the past history of St. Clair in terms of weight wise. Trying to get a gauge on the weight, the season that we're in, growth wise for the fish. You think that May, June time period is spawn time at St. Clair, and then you've got the feed up time. When we get to the fall, they're really getting big and they're grouped up tight in big schools right before, we get to their winter portion where the storms and the weather really kick in. But we're right in the middle. And we are also right in the middle of our last two elites that we've had there. We're in the middle of Cifuentes's late July victory, I believe, 91 pounds, and or I'm trying to think, was it Weidler, Bill Weidler in 2020? Because our season was moved. I think it was Weidler, maybe late July. Cifuentes was the third week of August. So we are like right in the middle of that. I've got upper 80s. I would love to see 90s plus, but I mean, they're pumping out big ones at St. Clair all the time, it seems. But we know how the pressure is. I'm not sure. I haven't checked. This is going to be a good, um, I guess, reveal for us to see how it goes on day one and throughout this tournament with if the biomass that Mark Zona calls it in the past of, bait fish, crawfish, vegetation, bass are all in Anchor Bay or where it is. The one big thing I'll say and I'm no scientist at all, but Michigan's been very warm. St. Clair isn't very deep. So those bays get very super hot. And at a certain point, they warm up faster than everywhere else. And it's the south facing bay. It's the northernmost bay, but it's the south facing bay. So those south winds warm that water up more in there. Shallow, it gets hotter. That's obviously the place where those fish can go up there and spawn easy and hang out there. But out of curiosity, I'm wondering if it gets too hot in there, like if it's an abnormally hot year, if those fish start to head out to the main lake. They get out towards Metro Park and more to the lake. And so that'll be my big question that we get answered and revealed. But I still think it'll take upper 80s, 87 to 90 pounds for it to win, most likely in my hopes and projections.
For fantasy, I'm right there with you. I've got 90 pounds, 8 ounces, so 90 and a half there.
I'm actually lower than you, bro. Holy cow.
Yeah, that literally never happens, but I'm not going back on it. It certainly could be lower and it could be higher, and I wouldn't be surprised one way or another. Obviously, the difference between the two can be, again, like we talked about, just finding a fish that's a quarter pound better quality on average, or finding one specific thing that gets you those better size bites. So if it's lower, wouldn't be surprised. If it's higher, wouldn't be surprised either. I'd be more surprised if it was accurate to what I guess, because it never is. But that'd be the
I mean,
suggestion.
it took 75 plus pounds for Jay Shakira to win last year in the Open. It took 91 for Joey Cifuentes to win the year prior, even out in the lake. And everyone else was stacked in tight weight wise and location wise in Anchor Bay, second through 10th behind him. So I don't think that 90 is off at all. I mean, we're talking about three-quarters of a pound difference or half a pound difference per day from my projection to your projection. But I think that I would be interested to see if it hits like 95. Like I would be okay with being wrong if it's like higher. And all it takes is just those fish being fed up just a little bit more, overall. on average. Or it takes someone finding their own deal in the rivers or a spot in each lake. If the weather plays nice and travel isn't an issue, then I could see those other places. But it used to be there wasn't a good enough population of big ones. It's in St. Clair that you could get away with leaving and having less fishing time, but you were on a better spot. And that's not necessarily been the case. A lot of people are staying in St. Clair. The fish are getting big. It's a conducive environment, and time wise, man, if you have any kind of wave action or wind action, you stay in St. Clair, and you can still fish 7 hours even going out in the lake. So that'll be
So
something to keep an eye on.
I take it your answer to the Yeti question of the day is all of the top 10 anglers will be in St. Clair.
I mean, if I was going to go practice, I would not consider any other place. And I'm a guy who likes to find a sneak hole off the beaten path. But it just doesn't, I mean, if you're an angler and we talk to you Doc Talk Wednesday and you say I avoided Anchor Bay to find something else, I'd say, are you trying to lose the tournament? Like you had to have tried to practice Anchor Bay and figured and make sure they're not there because there were a good contingent in Anchor Bay when Bill Weidler won, but he came, from behind a little bit to do that. It was still a variety of areas, but that was a little sneak peek. We get to see the 9 out of 10 with Joey's year winning, even though the winner didn't come there, it was dominated there. And then all of a sudden, you've got the Open, where basically everyone was there except for the local Aaron Jagdfeld, and so it tells you like most of the top tens in Anchor Bay and you can be all in St. Clair and be in the top 10. I think that yeah, I'll say all 10 are in St. Clair. And I'll
I'm
say
gonna
if you're looking at the map, what I'm going to consider St. Clair is when you go and you're looking the River's pretty, let me zoom out and get to Michigan. The Detroit River's pretty self-explanatory where the river starts there. After that, after the Pesci Island or Pesh Island, that's the Detroit River. But at the north, I'm gonna say when you get to Algonac, when you get past Harson's Island, there's a bunch of little island, Walpole, Harson's, Dickinson. When you get out of the river, past those islands right there, that's the St. Clair River. So if someone's in one of these little offshoot rivers, like we've seen Jake Whitaker in the past and stuff, I'm still saying St. Clair, but just so we're for the record, I'm just laying that out there.
I'm gonna agree with you, and it seems like almost more than anything.
I'd love to see Huron come back or Erie, but I'm just saying, I think all 10.
Yeah, I'm with you. It seems like talking to guys at ICAST and then just hearing the chatter before the tournament. I haven't talked to anybody super recently, but it seems like everybody just has that so deadlocked in their mind that that's the way that it's played out. The last few years that, to your credit, it seems like there's going to be much less. There's going to be a much smaller percentage of guys try to find something outside of that, like you said, just based on what I've heard. Not going to be surprising if there's guys that do try to find something, guys that really need to, go for it, based on their standings, whether it be for the classic, whether it be for requalification, whether it be for whatever, or just trying to go get a win because you're in a good spot, whatever it may be. There'll be some guys that try to find that, but yeah, it seems like from everything I've heard pre-tournament, it just seemed like so many anglers are focused on just sticking pretty close and trying to maximize their time. So I'm going to agree with you. I think the top 10 all will be from in St. Clair as well.
Like the history and statistics say it'll be won that way. And I don't disagree with that. But on the flip side, with everyone already being so preconceived notion deadlocked on that, this would be the year, Kyle, that's one of the small percentage guys that goes and looks for something different, goes and wins it somewhere different. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
because everyone's looking at it, and it's not just one of those things of like, yeah, I got Anchor Bay in my back pocket. I'll just go into Anchor Bay and catch them. It's now that everyone knows that this smaller area is the deal, you now have to have practiced it to know the deal in the deal, like to carve out your little area. Like you have to know, you can't just like, oh, I've got it for 6 hours to myself in here, or like two or three other guys. If there's 40 or 50 guys that decided to fish in there, you got to know where you want to fish. Because if you just pull in there and there's boats everywhere, it's like I'm just trying to fit in to get in, or I'm just trying to get in to fit in, or whatever. No, you got to get in the general region where you know the better fish are. With that, more pressure comes, and so I think all 10 will be in St. Clair. I don't know if all 10 will be in Anchor Bay, but I will be like, yep, the sometimes the wild card gets it done, and someone who maybe is like, screw this, and goes and finds something on their own. Not that these didn't find them on their own, but go find, goes up in the current at Huron or goes to Erie, whatever, or maybe over in Canada on Bell Island. I sat on the Bell Island hump with Brett Height, and he caught 100 bass in a row in 2015. He caught 100 bass in a row. Sorry, 99 and a half bass because one of his bass got ate by a muskie and he only had a half of it when he came in. But he caught a bass on like 100 casts in a row. It was the most insane hour that I've been taking photos. I got in his boat. I was just hanging out on the front deck. He was going anywhere. It was basically a boat tour gallery with fish included. Like it was awesome. So, and when we haven't seen that place put out to a winning level since. And so I don't know why that is, but I'd love to see that come back into play. Um, I think there are a lot of other species of fish in that shipping channel region, and it's either clutter on your forward facing or it is it's clutter and it's hard to pick out the smallmouth, or it's just hard to be efficient catching just smallmouth. And so some people might not be as successful in the shipping channel, stuff like that. But I still know how many good fish are in those rivers. It's just we're not looking for a good day of fishing. You're looking for four good days. So we will see. Well, let's get into fantasy. Let me pull up. Where's the tab at? Rapala Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing, Lake St. Clair. I'm barely in the dark green, brother. 75.5%. Not been a great year for Rapala for me. My heart's just not been in it. My heart's just not been in it. That's my excuse. My heart's, yeah, I'm just not trying to pick the same guys every time. And I try to always be different, but like my heart's just not in it right now. So,
It's definitely a risky play. Like it definitely when you try to go out there and make unique picks, because I try to do the same thing. Like if I'm writing a fantasy column, if I just took, theoretically, if I just took the highest angler in every single bucket, it's like, well, that's not, I'm just going with the crowd. And sometimes that's
not
certainly
we're
the
not
way you
teaching
have
them
to
anything.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
certainly sometimes that's the best route. Like, but when you try to venture out, it either goes really well or really poorly. And definitely it can go both ways.
I mean, I remember saying, yeah, I'm going to pick this guy because he's just so excellent with his electronics. And now everyone's been good with their electronics before, but it was a different kind of good with your electronics back in the day. But now that it's forward facing sonars, that's what are you good with your electronics there? No one's asking Kyle when they say, hey, are you proficient with your electronics? Yeah, man, I can side scan the heck out of them. That's not what we're talking about anymore. We're not asking about that. Everyone is so proficient. You're just trying to pick the best of the best. And I mean, there's five or six that come to mind that are very proficient with it, better than the rest. But it's still you got to find the right area. You got to have a little bit of luck where you don't have mechanical issues. All those different things that come into play. So I've got some proficient scopers, as they would say, but we'll see if they land on the pile or if they can get in on the pile if everyone else has landed on them. So let's go A through E, and then we'll break it down. So A through E for me, I got Shane LaHue, Robert G, David Mullins, Cody Huff, and Paul Mueller. So LaHue, G, Mullins, Huff, Mueller for my five.
Me and you do not agree on a single pick. Not that I think any of those picks you made are bad by any means, but I'm going bucket A, Jay Securit, bucket B, Luke Palmer, bucket C, Joey Cifuentes, bucket D, Jacob Fouts, bucket E, Jonathan Kelly.
One more
That's
time.
correct. Jay Securit, Luke Palmer, Joey Cifuentes, Jacob Fouts, and Jonathan Kelly.
Okay, so you picked all the previous winners that are in our field. Good job. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. No, that's smart.
So
And some of
here's
those
my
guys need
deal.
it for different reasons. Joey was on cloud nine when he won the 2023 Elite here, but Joey needs it for a different reason this time around. It's just a different. It's crazy the circumstances maybe.
So for me, I'll break it down real quick. Bucket A, Jay Securit. I've been riding with Jay Securit since like the second event of the year. And Bucket A certainly doesn't hurt that he is a fantastic smallmouth fisherman. Obviously, won the Open there a year ago. A lot of things go to his favor, but in that one, I don't feel bad because I've made the promise on my fantasy columns like 5 tournaments ago that I was gonna pick
He's your new
him.
Walters. Yeah.
And Tommy Sanders even called it out in during one of the tournaments. So now I have to stick to it because he's put it out there in the world for everybody to know. So Jay Securit probably going to stick to my roster for the last two, and Luke Palmer
Well,
obviously. I
hold on,
think
and I'll go my bucket eight. We'll go
yeah,
back and
yeah,
forth now.
yeah,
I think LeHue is one of the most underrated shallow water scopers, or electronics guys that we have. Every time we go to the St. Lawrence and they're out in the lake, they're not the deepest group of fish compared to other guys we see. He's doing multiple, techniques at times in those areas. He's so stoic and quiet that he kind of sneaks up on you're like, oh man, like he's actually like really good with this. Well, there is not a thing that Shane LeHue in my time and knowing him since 2011 is bad at. He's good or will get good at everything.
sure.
And from Tennessee River to Skipping Docks to all three species to now the Great Lakes, one of the best track records on smallmouth fisheries, whether it's Champlain, St. Lawrence, St. Clair, that we have. And so I just think shallow. If I'm thinking of the best area in the past history, has been Anchor Bay, which is the shallowest area on a shallow fishery and the type of technology they may utilize to be efficient around there. I have to go with LeHue, and that's a 0.7% selection. But this bucket with Chris Johnston and Jay Shakirat in there, and Trey McKinney, the top three in AOI are just, and then Taku, another double digit percentage person. Um, they consume, what is that, 42? That's 670. That's 85% from those four guys. 85% from those four guys. So everyone else is going to be underrated. If you included Kyoya, it's 5 guys for 93%. So everyone other than those five is going to be underrated. So LeHue is my bucket A pick. Been doing very well this year.
I like it. I like it. And then we're both going lower percentage in bucket B. Obviously, you have Corey Johnston taking up 42.3%, Easton Fothergill at 24%. Let's see. I mean, that's a majority of it. Seth Feider, 10.2. But I'm going
Coop
Luke
at
Palmer.
11.
Yep, yep, yeah, missed him. But I'm going Luke Palmer. Obviously, second place finish here 2 years ago. I think a lot of my picks are more based on the fact that they're just really good smallmouth fishermen, like irregardless of where we're at. Luke Palmer, obviously one of those guys that over just the last 2 or 3 years, I think has went from being, I wouldn't say poor at that, specific technique or fishing for northern smallmouth, but has gotten so good, obviously extremely good with his forward-facing sonar. It's hard to imagine that Luke Palmer would have a bad event. Not saying he's going to finish second again, but I'm taking that one as kind of my risk, I guess, based on percentages. Easton Fothergill has already been noted that I did not pick him in bucket B, and last time that happened, he top 10'd it. So use that information how you will. It seems like he does not like when I don't pick him in whatever bucket he's in, and again, he was not thrilled about it. So we'll see. But Luke Palmer, bucket B is going to be my pick, but certainly plenty of smallmouth hammers in bucket B, along with your pick, Robert G.
Yeah, I think that man, we hadn't had Robert G all year, and he's barely inside the classic line right now. But we haven't had Robert G on camera all year, and I think he was on camera like 13 days last year, his rookie year. So I expect Robert G to catch him this week. I expect him to be a factor this week. And so not only am I picking him on my team, I think he will make the top 10. We obviously are trying to pick anglers that make top 10s and do well for sure. But I definitely have, of my picks, Robert G is the one that I'm willing to put a stamp on that Would be shocked if he didn't catch him here, and really have high expectations for him to do well here. So it's only a matter of time for him to pop back up in what's been a whatever type of season. And so, with this being the most electronics type heavy tournament we've had in a while, um, give me some Robert G and then some when it comes to that. Less about smallmouth and more just about electronics for me with him. And
Sure.
but then I've got two other guys that are specifically smallmouth, that are in my other picks, from C down. So
I like it. I like it. So, moving down to bucket C, and to your point, I mean, there's no hiding it. I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, this is the one tournament on the schedule before the season ever even happened that you looked at and you thought, forward-facing snipers, if you will, if that's what you want to call them. This is certainly the place for them. Obviously, based on the way that the smallmouth at St. Clair set up. We've heard Mark Zona talk about it for years and years and years, how so many of these smallmouth on this fishery are nomadic. They swim around a lot. Those are notoriously going to be smallmouth that are much easier to catch with your forward-facing sonar. We've seen that play out, like you said. Bill Weidler's win, I think, was one of the coming out parties, if you will, for forward-facing sonar. I wouldn't say it was like the first tournament by any means that
this is the
but it was kind of the tournament that swayed how people smallmouth fished, it seemed, moving forward. So certainly going to be a forward-facing tournament, no doubt.
this is the location where a lot of guys, no matter what brand you were affiliated with, put one on for this tournament, and either got in trouble, broke ties, whatever. But this was of the 2020 season. We want to think about Patrick Walters in the fall at Fork and what he did. Yes, this was the one where we had a break and people all showed up with different technology on their boat because they knew it was going to be a deal. And
For
so,
sure.
yeah, interesting, the way it went down there. I will say before we leave Bucket B, Emil Wagner was a tempting pick for me. In my preseason article with you, I said that the highest rookie, because I did it differently and didn't listen to your instructions because I don't care about your opinion and your instructions. So I did it differently. But I said that Emil Wagner would be the highest finishing rookie at this event, back in my predictions. And it would, at the same time, it's probably going to be his highest finishing event of the season. He got ninth at Hartwell. Very likely that we could break that and he could actually, like, we could follow through, him get a top 10 and beat his Hartwell and be the highest rookie. So I'm confident in Emil smallmouth fishing that it could go down for him in Bucket B too. So two guys I had my eye on in Bucket B specifically. So let's go into Bucket C though, where I this is one of my smallmouth guys, and you'll see some East Tennessee flair with Robert G in this next pick. But I got David Mullins for my team. Um, Less about electronics, even though he is very good with his electronics. He may be quiet about it, and people may not, he's not as assuming that he's good with them. He is excellent with it, and fishing for nomadic smallmouth, you know, it doesn't matter if you're fishing in an East Tennessee lake necessarily and there's a bunch of contours. If the fish are high in the water swimming around, they're not related to the structure of the contour anyways, the cover. They're up in the water column, so they might as well be in a 15-foot lake, and that's what St. Clair is. And so, for those fish that are swimming around and here today, gone tomorrow, I think Mullins has a pretty darn good track record with smallmouth, and so I'll put Mullins on my team in bucket C for that reason. And he is a compared to my first two picks, he is a balmy 1%. So I'm going high percentage
High
there.
percentage, yeah. One singular percent, at least starting with a number
I
other
think
than
when I
zero.
clicked it, it went from .9 to 1. Like, I think I was the one.
I like that. I think I've had Mullins at St. Clair a number of times in fantasy, but like I said, for me, it's more just smallmouth prowess when you look at Joey Fuentes. Obviously won the tournament 2 years ago. That's enough reason to think that he would do well for most. For me, it's when you look at it, I mean, he's had 8 top 20 finishes in the elites and opens over the course of his career, and 5 of those have been fishing northern smallmouth. I mean, I think even before he qualified for the Elite
Oh,
Series, I
yeah.
think when you looked at what he did on the FLW Tour and then through MLF tournaments before qualifying, I mean, it was just his forte. He's very, very good at it. obviously there's been a track record of Arkansans just in general, like Stetson. I mean, a handful of them that have just done well up there. I don't really have an explanation for
Nixon's
you, but
one at St.
100%.
Clair.
100%. So, I mean, like I said, I don't know why, but that's certainly the case. And Cifuentes, just a rock solid pick for me in bucket C, despite the 14% player percentage. So, going up a little bit there. But moving to bucket D, this is going to be my highest percentage. I want to believe it's my highest. Yep, by just a few percentage points. I'm going Jacob Bouts, 31.3, certainly the highest in the bucket from what I can tell, but same deal. A guy that's clearly extremely good with his electronics with forward-facing sonar, but just a very good smallmouth fisherman regardless where we go. I got to cover him on the water 2 years ago at St. Clair and just looked super comfortable. Looked like he was just having a blast. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. He was having a good time out there. So for me, I'm going with Jacob Fouts in D. Ronnie, who'd you go with in D?
I went with none other than Cody Huff, another stellar scoper, as we could call him. But has great finishes at Champlain, things like that. He's also one of these Ozark anglers in Missouri that spends time catching fish over deeper water, over out in the middle, and they're not always largemouth. They're smallmouth on the lakes like Bull Shoals, Table Rock, Norfolk, places like that. Just like Joey Cifuentes at Greer's Ferry, things like that. So Cody Huff, and he needs just what a uncharacteristically boring season for him. I'll say a 62nd, a 40th, 76th, 76th, 69th, 18th, and a 55th. If you told me Cody Huff's highest finish this year would be 18th and it would be at the Sabine, I'd be like, what are you talking about? So I expect a higher than an 18th this week for Cody Huff. And that takes us to bucket E, where I just need Paul Mueller to get it done. Okay? Paul Mueller, you got to get it done. Shooting it straight like the TNC podcast. He is on, he's on the needs to requalify list. He is below that line and is failing to requalify at this current moment. So he needs two good ones. Also, Kyle, if this was the end for Paul Mueller on the Elite Series this season, he has got to at least win this event to go out with a all largemouth St. John's win, an all spotted bass Lanier win, and an all smallmouth win at St. Clair. Got to do it. I don't. I'd have to go back and look, but you either have a super cool nickname or your initials are your nickname. Like that's basically it for people who have done that feat. So on the Elite Series or the top level back in the day, if they were top 100s, whatever, Mueller's got to get it done on smallmouth so he can have the trifecta. He's got an all largemouth, all spotted bass, all smallmouth tournament wins, and that I'm talking about St. John's Lanier, and if he got it done at St. Clair, so got to have it, got to have it, and so there's a couple other got to have it's in this bucket, no doubt as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously, once you get this late in the season in bucket E, it's guys that have struggled for the most part all season long. Obviously, mixed in a good one here and there from a handful of the guys, but I'm going Jonathan Kelly for no reason other than Northern guy. Obviously, throughout his open season where he qualified, just absolutely nails in those tournaments. Super familiar, very comfortable in these types of tournaments. 24th place finish in 2023 at St. Clair. Just trying to go a little bit lower player percentage for me in bucket E. Obviously, if you look at bucket E, Jeff Gustafson, 52.8, that is the highest percentage amongst any angler in any bucket. Obviously, more than reasonable to pick Jeff Gustafson in bucket E, but I think it is a toss up in bucket E in some ways. So I'm going Jonathan Kelly.
Awesome. Well, there's our five-man teams. I've going back through mine quickly. LeHue, Robert G, David Mullins, Cody Huff, and Paul Mueller. And I got 87-11 is my guesstimate weight.
I like it. I've got Jay Shakurit, Luke Palmer, Joey Cifuentes, Jacob Fouts, and Jonathan Kelly.
Hey, before we go on to TH Marine Pick'em, we did just have an open at the St. Lawrence, and so kudos to Corey Johnston. He's not on either one of our fantasy teams, but he has a huge percentage this week. People expect a lot from him. I think he's gotten a third place finish before. I think he did it in that 2020 Bill Weidler victory. I think it was like Bill Weidler, Clark Winlet, and Corey were one, two, three, something like that. He has a great potential to keep the momentum going, no doubt. I mean, other guys have fished tournaments during the break and won tournaments. Chris Johnston won a big tournament as well, and so there's other guys who have done well. But Corey's flexing now from being the one guy without accolades on the Elite Series from Canada, because Chris had won and Gussie won the Classic and Elites and stuff. To now he's won an Elite and two Opens, and or he's won two Elites and two Opens and three wins with B.A.S.S on the St. Lawrence River. We cannot underscore how crazy that is. Um,
It feels illegal for neither of us to have a Johnston brother on our team for a smallmouth tournament. I wrote in my fantasy column that that's almost guaranteed to come back and bite me, but we're gonna roll the dice and see what happens.
well, we've
Despite
got
the
the
fact,
chance still, in TH Marine Pick'em and
true, true.
in Falcon Rods Drain the Lake that we can at least have a Johnston maybe. So we'll see. It's been
That's very true.
proposed out there for us, but kudos to Corey for winning. And we had another good event there. We had Jamie Bruce in studio, and it was just fun covering that. We saw a couple different. I think we see more variety when we have river only than when we have river and lake in the tournament. Like, even though people would say, well, you have an option for the lake, shouldn't it provide more? Man, when we see river only, people spread out in the river and you start to see little corners of the river show up and everyone's got their little deal going. Whereas in the lake, you could be 20 miles offshore, you could be 10 miles, 5 miles, 2 miles. It all looks very similar. It all looks the same. But these different, especially on the map, it's totally different. So kudos to Corey for winning. And yeah, I mean, just another big victory for them on that fishery. And and honestly, Corey, making Lee Livesey's feats on his home lake, who's been the best home lake guy. Um, just those wins by Livesey, just hang with me. They look more like flukes because so many other people have won there, and Livesey always hasn't gotten in the top 10 at Fork in the events. But with how many times the Johnstons make the top 10 at the St. Lawrence, and that they have, four wins now between the two of them on this fishery, very, very difficult. Obviously, if Lee
I,
Livesey had a brother named Lance Livesey or something, then
I
maybe
was
it would
gonna
go
say,
different,
I think it's just a matter of like he's at least shown to be human at Lake Fork. He's
Yes,
had a
that's
couple
yes, I was trying to
couple
say
tough
that.
events as where like the Johnston brothers are like the most automatic thing on the St. Johnston River. I mean St. Lawrence River. But
And I don't even think that Chris has fished in the open, maybe the first open in fall of 22, but I don't think that Chris Chris didn't fish in this one, but maybe, what I'm saying, like it wasn't like they were able to work together. Like there's an off limits and you can't talk. So it was just Corey this week, and so we'll very, very cool to see that. Let's go over to TH Marine Pick'em, where you can lay out the matchups and we can make the picks.
let's run through it. Matchup number one, reoccurring matchup. Top two in AOI, Jay Shakurat versus Chris Johnston. Who we going with, Ronnie?
I got Jay Shakurat. I do have Jay Shakurat. I think he's going to fend off the AOI lead for at least another week. I don't know how much he'll expand it or extend it. I expect it to still be 10 points or less between those two going into the final event.
Yeah, I've got Jay Shakurat as well. Can't go against him if I'm picking him in Rapala. It'd be crazy to go against him here. Matchup number two, former St. Clair champions, Jason Christie and Joey Cifuentes. Who you got?
Uh, History tells me that the second Jason Christie has an event that's bad on a lake he's supposed to do well on, that the next one's going to be great. And we can just say that he wins the classic, gets last at Santee Cooper, and then like wins Chickamauga. Um, so him doing bad at 10 Killer lends itself to him doing great here. But I have Joey Cifuentes. I do have Joey Cifuentes doing better than Jason Christie this week.
I got Joey Cifuentes as well. Complete toss up to your point. Matchup number three, rookie wrangle. We got Tucker Smith and Paul Marks. Who we got?
Uh, they are the same person to me at times, but I have Paul. I have Paul just Paul's going to pour it on in
Coin
these
flip.
last two. I think Paul's going to pour it on in these last two, and he's going to just run away with rookie of the year. It's not. It's going to go from a who's going to win it to like, holy cow, put the tourniquet on. Everybody's bleeding out.
I actually have Tucker Smith in that matchup. To your point, I mean, a complete toss-up in that one. Matchup number four, Smalley Hammers, Taku Itu and Corey Johnston. Who you got?
Corey.
I've got Taku, so we're going back to back.
Okay. We're
Wins there.
differing in 50% of them right now.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely could see Corey with the momentum rolling. Definitely second guessing that pick as we're talking about it. But anyways, number five, we've got surging in AOY, Trey McKinney and Patrick Walters. Who you got?
I've got Trey. I mean, the only thing that has stopped Trey from having 17 perfect Elite Series events basically is answering his phone when he shouldn't have. And otherwise his fishing is there. He's not lacking in anything. Um, we saw it at 10 Killer. He was offshore smallmouth fishing. Halfway through the tournament, he switches gears and starts flipping the bank and stays in the top 10. So more than capable, and I think it's his time. But honestly, it's been his time the last 2 years. He should have ran away with AOI last year without the bonehead mistake.
Yeah, I am. I'm going Patrick Walters.
Ooh,
I
we're
think I had
different
Trey
in
McKinney before, but
3 out
now
of
at this
5.
point we're just going different from
You're trying
you.
to catch up, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to do at this point. It's certainly not been a strong season for me in Pick'em, but matchup number six, Michigan versus Ohio. Chad Pipkins versus Alex Redwine. Where are we going?
I hate the Big Ten, so I'm not making any kind of statement by picking one state or the other. But I am picking
It's like
Alex
the Big
Redwine in this one.
18 now.
Huh? Yeah.
I think they've got like 78 teams in that conference now. I think
It's
you can
not even
call
the
it.
Midwest. They have like yeah, they're the Big Pac 10 ACC challenge over here. They've got everybody. Um, but I'm picking Alex Redwine. Just the sheer nature of his style with his roommate's style, Jay Shakirat, and I think that they will align well this week in navigating community hole type areas. You know what I'm saying? If they do that, I think that they'll be able to mark out good areas.
I like it.
Love you, Chad. Sorry, Chad.
I was about to say, I think Chad Pipkins is going to have a big time event here. I think he's
Gotta
certainly,
have it. Gotta have
yeah.
it.
I mean, I think he feels the pressure of that. Obviously, a place we've seen him do well. I do think he's going to have big tournament here. However, I think the consistency with Alex Redwine and smallmouth tournaments hard to ignore. So I'm going Alex Redwine as well.
Yeah, and
Matchup
I'll say this. The big question with Chad that every fan should ask is he going to Erie? That's the big thing. He loves going to Erie. In the past, when Erie, Huron, and the Two Rivers would beat St. Clair out at times, he would always have good finishes. He's won opens here before, not here at St. Clair, but in Erie. The question is if Pipkins is going to Erie, it has not worked out well the last 4 times we've been here. Been terrible. Looks like he's anything but a homer or someone who knows well here. So my biggest thing, if he goes Erie, where he's most comfortable, I don't like the odds. If he changes his approach and is in St. Clair, let's bring him into the fold. So,
Yeah, well, we know he's obviously more than capable of smallmouth angler
yep.
one way or another. So, like you said, just being in the right area certainly goes a long ways. Matchup number seven. Seems like this was 10 years ago when this happened, but we're running it back. Wes Logan, Andrew Loberg obviously came down to the wire at Lake 10 Killer. We're running it back. Matchup seven. Who you got?
I would say Andrew Loberg's my pick. Um, but I say this might be the tightest matchup we have. If it couldn't get any tighter than the 1 ounce difference in their victory and loss, in the last event. Because even if Wes Logan doesn't feel or doesn't say or wouldn't consider himself proficient with smallmouth, we have seen non-smallmouth hammers do well at St. Clair because of his shallow nature. You're not out in the abyss. It is out in the abyss at times, but like it's not so deep and wide that you can't figure it out. So I would say it lends itself to Southerners being able to do well. So I think Loberg beats this matchup, but I don't think Logan has a bad finish.
I like it. Just to be different, I'm going with my brother Wes in matchup seven. Certainly could see that one going either
So
way.
we only match in the first two.
Yeah, all the other ones. I mean, partially just because I just want to be different and try to make up some ground on you. But yeah, we're rolling it,
Yeah,
rolling the
because
dice.
I'm at 97%. I am at 97%. I wish I could see. Oh, there it is. 550th. Let's go. Come on. I'm gonna get up there some more
Yeah,
this week.
I'm not so solid, 74.1%, but we're about to go to my forte in Falcon Bassmaster Drain the Lake Challenge.
I'm not too shabby either. So let's go over to Falcon Rods, Drain the Lake, and I'm at 93.1%, 93.1, 1919 overall.
That is sorry as heck. Uh, 99.5% for your boy, 150th in the world, which actually is kind of a slide over the last
You've
couple
been
tournaments.
sucking
Not
lately.
not terrible, but certainly fell back a handful of spots. So need to have a couple good ones here. Ronnie, give me your first four in Drain the Lake.
I'll mention guys that I've mentioned before. So I've got Huff, LeHue, Shakurit, Rob G, and I'll throw in there Jake. Oh, sorry, that's four. Yeah, I already did four. So Huff, LeHue, Shakurit, Rob G. Okay,
I like it. For me, I'm going to start Jay Securit, Taku Ito, Chris Johnston, and Logan Parks.
okay. I've got Robertson, Wetherell, Fouts, and Sands for my last four.
My last four will be Alex Redwine, Cooper Gallant, Jacob Fouts, and Joey Cifuentes.
Yeah, I think obviously I've explained Cody Huff, Shane LeHue. We've talked about Jay Shakir extensively. Robert G, I talked about him. And so for my last four with those Robertson, Wetherell, Fouts, and Sands, like you, Jacob Fouts is fishing well right now at home. Like he's doing a lot, having a lot of fun. I don't where's he at in AOI? He's got would you say bucket D? He's down there a little bit, right?
Fouts,
Yeah. Fouts is in 68th. So he's right there with Cody Huff. 68th. I would still, where's he at? 334. And the classic line is at 411. He can still make the classic. And so I think that Fouts catches him this week, does that. Cole Sands, he is one of those guys that's on the bubble for requalifying. He is in the top 70 of points, so he is safe, but dropping below that top 70 puts him in very, very close danger, like Jared Miller at the bottom of a dam, close danger, like that type of deal. So I expect Cole to just be rock solid. A couple East Tennessee guys with Fouts and Sands. Um, and I think Fouts and Sands went to the same high school. Am I right? I think they went to the same high school.
if you're looking for confirmation, you're not going to get it from
I
me.
I think they did because then they went to the same college, but I think they went to the same high school. Okay. So yep. And then Alex Wetherell, Matt Robertson. Uh Matt's gotta have it. I mean, I picked all these guys before the season started. So I expected these guys to do well, and so I'm glad that the week of the tournament lines up with my gut feelings of prior. You know what I'm saying? Like I picked all these guys, and then when I was doing the raffle, I was like, I just happened to pick the similar guys because of it. So
I like it. I'll make my Drain the Lake selections way easier as far as explanation. They're all smallmouth hammers. That's why I'm going with them. I think I have saved as many as I possibly can to the point that even Logan Parks being my eighth pick, I've toyed around with switching that one because I feel like I've almost left too much. You know, you get to the end of the year with Drain the Lake and you're like, why have I not used some of these guys to this point? And only, 16 slots left to go between this tournament and the next one. You're like, man, I might have really missed an opportunity to select somebody that I haven't to this point, but yeah, for me, explanation's pretty simple. All guys that have a track record doing extremely well with smallmouth. I think of the eight that I'm sitting here looking at, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if one of them won the tournament. So that's typically my
for sure,
justification for picking anybody is what tournament do I think they have the best chance to win? And yeah, that's where we're
you've been
going
super spot on all year in Drain the Lake. So yeah, I'm not surprised.
to
Awesome.
this point. So two to go.
To this point. Awesome. Well, yeah, the Yokohama Tire Bassmaster Elite kicks off this week. Podcast going up on Wednesday. If you're watching this, hopefully you've set your lineups already, maybe adjusted them based off what we've said. Coverage Thursday, Friday, Bassmaster.com and Roku Sports Network live on our Fast channel. Check it out there. We'll also be live Saturday and Sunday on FS1. People are like, oh, you went to Roku because you lost your FS1 deal. No, this is new, more additional opportunities. So Bassmaster.com and Roku, Thursdays and Fridays all day. And then when we're on FS1, we are on FS1. And after we get off FS1, it is .com and Roku till the end of the day to set sail there. So should be good. Mark Zona on site there. If you're in the area and you want to go see the Z Train, you'll see him more than I have this year. If you go visit St. Clair, I got to see him 3 days at the Classic. You'll get to see him 4 days for the Elite. So Kyle, enjoy it. It's going to be nice, I think, warm, hazy. I've seen some wildfire alerts up in that region, so be careful. But otherwise, we will jump back in next week with a recount of how it's gone and a look at Leech, which is the last stop of the regular season for the Bassmaster Open. So until then, thanks for joining us on episode 201 of the podcast. Those were our fantasy picks, and we've got Lake St. Clair, the 8th stop of the Elite Series season, with one more to go in La Crosse, Wisconsin in a few weeks to end the season.